Well, hey everybody, welcome back to 7 Days to Die. Crap, this isn't 7 Days to Die, this is Astroneer, you stupid idiot. Hey everybody, welcome back to Astroneer. I'm Joe Mama, your host, and take a look. Over my shoulder there, you're going to see a delay repeater and a proximity repeater stuck to the ceiling. What the heck is that about? Well, I'll tell you. I have discovered a solution to my dynamite problem. So let's take a look at this. What you've got, you can see a hole right there. And that hole is a hole through which dynamite falls when I drop it through said hole. And what we've got here is a proximity repeater, which is repeatedly turned on and off using this delay repeater, which right now has a 5-cycle delay, and 5 cycles seems to be perfect. Which means this thing comes on and off every 5 cycles and activates the dynamite as it falls through that hole, and then it starts the timer and then it falls until it explodes. Now, of course, it doesn't bode well for all of this material down here, but who cares? This is just one small place that's safely out of the way of anything. And it seems to be working, so let's go up and see if we can demonstrate it. Now, I've got to tell you that we are in a different world. We're not in the same world we were in before, the one where that catastrophic failure happened. No, we're in a world where a different catastrophic failure happened. Yeah, so it happened again. Sort of. It wasn't quite as destructive, and it didn't happen for quite as stupid a reason. It was still a stupid reason, but not quite as stupid as putting dynamite into a shredder. What I did was, I decided that, you know, the other save had already basically, all the work had been done in the game. All the missions had been done. It was just sort of a, you know, cruise at your own pace and do whatever you want. So I figured, well, what if we take the benefits of this event, that is, you know, getting all of these materials and starting on that early in the game. Basically starting a new game using all of what we've learned. Okay, let's go ahead and launch this. Does this have anything left? Yeah, it's got something. Let's go ahead and send it up. And taking everything we've learned, applying it early on in the game, and including the event, including the automatic science, which should still be happening. Oh, it's not happening. Oh, maybe I need to go check that out. So, yeah, in fact, I think we'll probably do that once this rocket comes back and we can see what we can do. We might have to reestablish the science closer to where we are at right now, because here's the deal. The accident that I'm referring to, when I started this game over again, I built up this base, and before doing a lot of the missions... Oh, okay, check this out. Watch this. They got auto unloading going on here. Look at that. Automatically just takes the stuff right off the rocket and plops it into some very large containers. And as you can see, we've been doing a lot of collecting. So, which is okay, because I don't mind making these containers, you know, if it's gonna hold 400 items, that's okay. Okay, so we need more stuff to put on the rocket. But, let's actually go get a pallet of dynamite, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Meanwhile, we're gonna let this thing do its thing, and I will explain what is going on here. I've made some improvements to the design, but I want to show you kind of the inspiration for this new idea for disposal of dynamite. So, I will tell you that I built a train of large rovers, longer than this. It was 4 rovers long, and I was using it to transport dynamite to a safe distance. Dynamite and exochips and all of this stuff that can't... I mean, we can dispose of exochips if we want, but they're expensive and useful in a lot of ways, so I thought that I would keep them, but that doesn't necessarily need to happen. So where I'm going is the original location of my base before this, before I had to relocate because of great disasters. So as you can see, there are 3 big holes in the ground, and those holes are the result of various things in the base exploding. And you can see this wall that I built around the around the spew flower part of the base. And the explosion did take out two of my cauldrons, my swift cauldrons that I got from Aatrox. It took them out, destroyed them. And that's unfortunate. I had to go back and get more. But other than that, it really didn't destroy much because the explosion didn't... It wasn't a single huge explosion, and it didn't happen in the middle of the base. It happened as I was transporting dynamite away from the base to a safe storage area. So believe it or not, trying to handle the dynamite safely is what doomed me, is what doomed this base and this location. So we're gonna take a drive over to where the dynamite is, and I'll explain what happened. So you know that in order to harvest and plant seeds, you have to use proximity repeaters, and that's what I was doing. Okay, let's grab a pallet of dynamite. I was bringing it over here, out of the way, safely. Pallet of dynamite. Let's put it on this back trailer. Okay. And you know what? Let's go ahead and get rid of these exo chips. Since we're here, let's go ahead and drop them off. Now, unfortunately, exo chips, yeah, we still have to find a way to store them, but they don't come along as frequently as dynamite does. And, so we don't have to make as many pallets as we used to. Now that we know how to deal with dynamite, we don't have to make as many pallets. I was carrying a load of dynamite, and I drove past... Well, all of a sudden, put it this way. Let me describe it as it happens. And I picked up all the dynamite, and I was loaded to the gills with it. 2 trailers were absolutely loaded with dynamite. The rest were loaded with exo chips. And I got a little ways from the base, and then the next thing I know, the truck just absolutely exploded. Big explosion happened, and I didn't know what it was, and I actually came to in a shuttle underground because of the hole that was blown in the side of the world. And I was wondering, what the heck happened? And then I realized I drove the truck in close proximity to a proximity repeater, close enough that the repeater actually activated some of the dynamite. Yep, that's where I wanted to go. Okay. And I didn't realize it, but I was then driving for about 3 or 4 seconds a truck that had been activated. Oops, you know what? Let me pull ahead a little bit. I was driving with activated dynamite, and then I got a little ways away from the base. It exploded, caused a chain reaction, which destroyed my collection of hydrazine. It destroyed some of the dynamite that I had not gotten out of the way. And, but that was what prompted me to realize that, oh, we can use the proximity repeater possibly as a way to dispose the dynamite. So what I've got is this hole right here, and if I grab a piece of dynamite, okay, let's grab a couple, because they usually come in 2s. Okay, so if you look down there, you can see there's a big hole down there because it took a little bit of experimentation, but you can see the edge of the proximity repeater right there. That means the entire area of that hole is activated repeatedly. So there's this sphere of influence where things that go through that sphere get activated. So if we do this, hear it, and boom, drop another, it activates, boom. Okay, dynamite taken care of. So the beautiful thing about this is it's not going to collect on us, it's disposed of safely, and let's go ahead and do some more because that's fun. I mean, didn't you love setting off fireworks as a kid? I actually have tried to, like, see if I could have one set the other off, but it never seems to work that way. Come on, go. No, not so much. But, yeah, so now we've got something that can get rid of the dynamite. We don't constantly have to build pallets all the time. Yeah, buddy. And since all the ground around there is already blown up, we're not going to do any additional damage. We just need to stay away from that area. Here's the thing. If you set the proximity repeater, or if you set the delay repeater to go off too soon, or with too much delay, then there's a window through which the dynamite could fall, where the proximity fuse activates, beep, the dynamite falls through it, and beep, it activates again, and the dynamite will not be activated. So that is a possibility that you have to be aware of. So I set it to 5, so it's not like repeatedly going off, and that's enough to catch the dynamite as it falls through the sphere of influence. At least once it will get activated, and that's all we need. So that takes care of that. Okay, so let's talk about the rest of the base that's going on here. So, let's see, do we have something that we can send? Okay, so right now, you can see it's making squashaline, and there's a reason for that. So I've got seeds, I've got, what do you call it, spew flower seeds here, so we've got seeds, but I've currently got it turned off. I've got the spew flower side of the base turned off, and that causes the sturdy squash to build up and sit there and get unused. So I decided, you know what, it'd be a good way to get points even when we have to, like, even when we have to wait for spew flowers. Hang on. Because as you remember, one of the one of the complications of working with a recipe that has 2 ingredients is that you need to produce them at the same rate, produce both of them and consume them at the same rate, and that's almost impossible. So, to try to keep them balanced, so what I've done is I've provided a measure where if spew flowers start lagging, if we're not producing enough spew flowers, then we have a method of taking care of the squash samples that are building up and not getting used. Because if we let them build up, then what's going to happen is it's going to fill that pit. This pit will get full, and the seeds can't then fall and germinate, you know what I mean? So we need to keep the ground free so the seeds can consistently germinate. So the way I've done that is I've taken 2 additional cauldrons, swift cauldrons actually, called cauldrangias, and I've set them up so that they will consume the squashaline, they'll consume the samples, they'll keep the samples pulled away, which will keep this area clear, and just produce squashaline. It's cheap, it doesn't get us as much money, but at least it keeps the seeds, it keeps this area clear so that the seeds can germinate. And I've actually set it up to be automated a little bit, and I'll explain how. So I've got this button right here that when I realize that, because what you'll see happen, keep an eye on the spew flowers. What I would see happen is all of a sudden the seeds for all the spew flowers are getting consumed, and this area was getting bare. There wasn't many seeds, and if the seeds get pulled from there, too many of them, then they'll stop producing spew flowers because all the seeds will get consumed. And so when you see that this area is getting sparse, then I deactivate these arms right here that pull the seeds, and there's a switch right here that's attached to this button. And when you push that button, it turns off these 2 arms, but it also turns off this arm right here, and it also turns on, let's see, this one, oh yeah, it just turns off these arms, and then the squash samples start to build up. But I noticed that these, you notice how there's 3 pallets right here? 3 medium storage pallets? Notice they're kind of like from left to right, 1, 2, 3. Well, the one, they tend to fill up from the left. They fill up this one, then fills up this one, and then it fills up this one. And once this one right here gets filled up, then of course it stops. These arms have nowhere to put their stuff, so it stops pulling seeds. So what I did is I set up this storage sensor that senses when this gets full, it activates this switch, and it stays active until this empties. And this switch activates these 2 arms that pull the samples toward these cauldrons, these caldera, what are they called? Cauldrangias. This acts like an overflow. Think about the little hole in the sink, in your bathroom sink, when it fills up. Now there's another drain for the, if you have the plug in there and you leave the water on and you step out of the room, if the sink fills up too much, there's a place for the water to go so it doesn't fall on the floor. Well, this provides a place for the samples to go so they don't sit there idly and cause this farming area to plug up. So, as soon as this detects that this is full, it activates the switch, turns it on, and it stays on until the storage is empty. So if I were to move all these out of the way... Yep, see that? It turns this off. Now that this is empty, it turns this off. So this will now fill up until this fills up, and then it activates the switch. These arms activate. So it's kind of self-regulating, but you just have to keep an eye on it. Oh, see, look at all these seeds. Now, if you're wondering why I've got this big wall here, it looks like, wow, gee whiz, Eric, you've got this wall here. What the hell is that for? Well, I will show you. Let's go around the backside. I just want to get these seeds. Regulate. Oh, you know what? Now's the time. Let's go ahead. Fire the sucker up. Press the button. Boom. And that changes everything over. And now this will start doing its thing, and we'll start getting noxethane. Now let's take a look at what I am protecting. I'm protecting these. You remember this system. This is the timer, and this is the proximity button that keeps the timer, turning on over and over again. This keeps the system repeating, and I just built this wall so that the seeds don't go flying over and plant a bunch of spew flowers around here. That happens. It happened here, and it showed me that I needed to build the wall. So now we've got these caldrangias are doing their thing, and we're getting let's see, let's put this over here, and we're getting noxethane. So the real lucrative stuff is getting produced. We've got plenty of seeds, so now we just need to keep an eye on this. But otherwise, we don't really have to worry too much about this filling up with samples, because we have this system right here that acts like an overflow, and it's making money for us. So now we've got this thing, so let's go ahead, take it. Let's launch it. Alright, so there we go. Now, let's take a look at the system that we've got here. I've basically got 12 arms. I've got arms that store the exochips, and I've got an arm here that stores the dynamite, and right now it doesn't even store it, it just puts it at a place where I can grab it and drop it down the hole. We've got storage for the hydrazine that shows up. We've got one for the nanocarbon alloy even. We've got this one here that puts the science, that takes the research samples that show up, puts it into the research chamber. And I've even got one that takes care of the QTRTGs and puts them on a pallet. And then, very important, we've got these two that constantly feed the hydrazine jetpacks and the packagers into the shredders. I don't need either one of them anymore, so they go into the shredder. But what's very important is that you do not ever run these arms without filters in them. You always put a filter in them, because otherwise you might accidentally drop some dynamite or hydrazine into the shredder, and then that's all she wrote, as we know from previous experience. Okay, so I've actually put these on pallets, by the way, just to kind of neaten things up. Okay, so that's filling up. All right, let that continue to go, and I'll keep going, keep describing what's going on here. As I said, I've got these large resource canisters. That saves me having to, like, you know, every few minutes having to replace the canisters, because you're going to get a lot of resources this way. Okay, let's send this on its way. And so I've got arms that have filters for each of those containers, and obviously match the filter with the container that the arm is feeding. Too easy. So now I've got this arm right here that takes the output of these two shredders and puts it onto this trade platform. And I'm just using this trade platform to constantly get resin, compound, all of the stuff that you would need to even organics, all of the stuff that you would need to create storage media for all the stuff you're getting, okay? So you don't have to go out and mine it. You can just use the trade platform, because you're going to get a lot of shredding material. Okay, watch this. Here we got science, exochips. And there goes the science into the research lab. The nanocarbon alloy goes into the storage, and then the exochips get stored. Now let's take care of the dynamite, which is all of a sudden, now I love getting this dynamite because this is a fun little thing to do. I'm glad to see this works, and it's working consistently. It took me a while to figure that out. Yep, boom. Boom. 2 explosions. Dealt with. Yeah, buddy. Alright, send that rocket on its way. If I could find a way to do that automatically, but I don't think you can get an arm to just drop it into free air. I don't think you can do that. It's going to attach it to something, and you don't want to attach the dynamite. So that's a thing. If you're moving hazardous material around, especially dynamite, be very careful that you do not drive your truck anywhere near a proximity repeater, which is why I've kind of fenced, as you can see, I've kind of fenced this area off so that you just can't drive a truck in here. So that kind of keeps it safe. By the way, I'm using a slightly bigger farm area here, but it means that I need to have 3 arms to pick up the Astronium, and they're all working, they're all picking things up. So, the wiring. Okay, so the wiring here, all I gotta tell you is just keep in mind what it is your goal is, what it is you're trying to do. You don't want to turn things on and off that you don't want on and off. So like this, if you want to turn this arm off, don't put power here. Make sure that it isn't being fed by power from anything else. Make sure that if you're going to turn power on and off to something, that you don't accidentally feed it power from something else, otherwise it'll never turn off. Okay, something to keep in mind. I'll show you where I am in the mission, by the way. So I moved the base, which means I had to make a new launch pad. So let's take a look at the mission log. So I'm still, I still haven't gotten the, I keep calling it a gastropod, but I think it's a galastropod. Is that right? I think it's a galastropod. I haven't gotten them yet. So I need to do that. I'm actually very early on in the mission, but at least I'm getting a whole crap ton of resources that are going to help me get those things done a lot easier. Sightings. I actually have the train station set up on Glacio. I've still got a lot of work to do there. Oh man, I could have gotten a free trading platform. Well, whatever. It was worth the money. And am I getting any science? Oh yeah, okay, there's some science there. It's happening. Maybe I'll set up a different type of science base, maybe. We'll see, to produce science quicker, but as you can see, I'm actually chewing through it pretty good. I've got a lot of green stuff there. I'll go ahead and research the solid fuel thing just to get it out of there. I wish I had the hoverboard. I would like to have the hoverboard right now, just to get around the base, get around the planet a little quicker. I have not set up any trains on Silva yet. Plan to do that. And again, this is not an AFK base because it does take some input. To keep everything balanced, it does take some input. Now you can let it run in the background, walk away from the keyboard for a little bit, but you're gonna have to constantly, you know, every few minutes take a look and see what's going on. I do it in the workshop. I'll just leave it running, and if it's if I think that maybe something needs my attention, I'll come over here, take a look every few minutes. For example, just because we have a nice area to put the seeds in and we keep it clean, it doesn't mean that there won't be problems. Like sometimes a seed might be thrown up onto this platform, and then if you don't catch it early, it'll despawn. And because the rate is only 100%, you only get 1 seed per harvest, the highest success rate you can get is 100%, which means some seeds are going to disappear eventually, because 100% is the highest. These plants over here have a 200% yield, and you have to keep an eye on them. This is only 100%. So 1 harvest equals 1 seed, and if that 1 seed lands in a place where it can't germinate, then you've lost a plant. And then you're going to eventually find that the number of plants you have active is going to go from 10, 9, 8, on down to, if you get around 4 or 5, that's unsustainable. You have to go get more plants, and okay, nope, that worked. You have to get more plants, so you have to keep an eye on it. Make sure the seeds don't land on the platform. They don't get stuck in a place where they can't germinate. So it's gotten better. This system has increased the success rate where I set this thing up and I have not had to go back and get more plants in a long time. So it's working very well, but it's not perfect and you have to keep an eye on it. Especially with this overflow protection right here, so it can take the overflow of the squash samples and actually turn them into something, then it's actually increased the sustainability of this farm. I'm trying to think of anything else that might be useful. Currently, we have so many QT RTGs. We are so overpowered right now. I've got 1, 2, 3 of the large platform Bs full of pallets of QT RTGs. Each of these pallets can meet a need of 32 units of power per second. Is that right? Yeah, 32, because each of these produces 1, and there's 4 pallets, and each pallet has 8. So 8 times 4 is 32. We've got 1, 2, 3 of these platforms, so that's 96, if I'm not mistaken. 96, plus I've actually taken some of these QT RTGs and brought them to other planets to set up self-powered bases for using atmospheric condensers, on Glacio for powering the train station. So we've got probably more QT RTGs than we could possibly need. So maybe we'll start shredding them after a time. Who knows? Speaking of which, let's see where we're at. Right now I'm collecting lithium. I'm getting so much shredded material, and I've got, let's see, how much resin do I have? Okay, I could get some resin. Let's go get some more, I suppose. Resin, and then how about compound? How are we doing for compound? Really good. Okay, we're probably going to need some more carbon. Going to need some more quartz. So really, let's take a look. I'll show you. If you've never seen a trade platform, look at the stuff that you can get, that you can trade for, and you can see the ratios right there. 1 scrap for 2 compound. Then there's resin, organics, clay, very good to know, quartz, graphite, sphalerite, which of course is zinc, and then ammonium. Once you've got the hydrazine jetpack, the hydrazine booster, and now that we've gotten dynamite out the wazoo, I'm not even sure we need ammonium for anything. Laterite, which is aluminum, and then malachite, which is copper, wolframite, which is tungsten, which we absolutely don't need. We are packed with tungsten, and copper for that matter. Hematite, which is iron, we're good there. Titanite, that is another, that's something that we could use because we can't get that on this planet and we don't get it as a prize. And yeah, so there's lots of options open for us. The only thing we can't really get is gases. I kind of wish we could get gases, but we cannot. All right, we're almost full there. So gases we do still have to go to other planets and get, which makes the QT RTGs very valuable, so we can set up bases. Also, they will be useful for landing next to the gateways, so we can find a way to unlock the core. So we can use these QT RTGs, we could set up a platform like this one, and we could theoretically unlock an Aatrox core, or unlock the Aatrox gateway. Do you remember? The gateways at different planets have different needs, have different power needs to be unlocked. Oh, we got more dynamite to drop down the hole. Yes. Keep an eye. I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but you could end up blowing the relay off the ceiling. But that's why I put it on the ceiling, so the likelihood of getting blown up is very low. It's just fun. A good sign that this is well stocked is that you'll actually see seeds spilling out of there, and I see some seeds in there, so I think we have excess seeds. We're good. But keep an eye on it, because eventually this will get cleared out, and you'll have to stop production of noxethane to preserve your source of spruce flower seeds. Now, you might be able to actually make a bigger farm plot. Maybe that'll help. I just didn't want to make it too big. We are almost to 900,000 units delivered. Well, this is good. Having the dynamite dealt with means the only thing we really have to worry about then is finding transportation for the exo chips. But I will tell you this much. One thing the exo chips are great for is shredding. Okay, I'll watch all these arms go to work. That is so great. Taking care of that, because that was the biggest pain in the neck, is when you got all those elements, all those compounds, and you needed to do something with them, and trying to go around the rocket and manually pick them off was a pain in the ass. Alright, so let's take the exo chips. Take one exo chip, and it will actually produce a lot of scrap. So if we need to top off that rocket so we can send it, so be it. I actually thought about making the hole for the dynamite right underneath this, the launch pad, so that have the arms take the packagers off, but leave the dynamite, and then you could just launch the rocket, the dynamite would fall off and then fall down the hole. The problem is, dynamite wouldn't be the only thing that falls down the hole. Sometimes I forget to take the canister off the top of the rocket, and that would fall down the hole too. So I'm forgetful, I know myself, so I didn't even make that an option. I made it so that the dynamite is pulled aside and dealt with in a separate location. Alright, let's go ahead and get some lithium. And what's great though is that you get plenty of, what's it called, nanocarbon alloy, and nanocarbon alloy is one of the things you need to do, is one of the things you need to actually build these large resource canisters. In fact, let's take a look. How much to build the large resource canister? What exactly is that? Was it this one? No. It's this one, isn't it? Is nanocarbon alloy, titanium, which we got in spades, and glass. Okay, so if we get quartz, we can get glass. That's easy to come by. The nanocarbon alloy, we've got a crap ton of it, so we can make those containers without a thought. Oh, can I show you something else I discovered? Right there, the alignment mod. Okay, aligns the terrain deformation to the curvature of the planet. This is what I was looking for earlier, but instead I used the I gotta find it here. Where is it? There's a different mod, but it's but it aligns to the voxel grid. You remember that? Oh, leveling block creates terrain that aligns to the voxel grid. That's what I found. You know, I'm like, what good is that? So I didn't even give it a second thought. But the alignment block, the alignment mod right here, this is a totally different thing. So what you do is, let's see, where's E? You know, take your soil container off, put the alignment mod on, and then it will level the terrain. Let's get the V. Okay, come on, there you go. Oh, stop that. Stop it. For some reason, it goes back and forth between vertical and horizontal. It will align your terrain to the curvature of the planet, so you don't. It works better than the usual leveling tool, because as the planet curves, it adjusts itself, which is something that the usual leveling tool on the terrain tool didn't do. It would just go straight. You couldn't use the alignment mod for surfing to the core because it's going to automatically adjust itself to the curvature, but still, it's the same idea. It will adjust itself according to the curvature of the planet, which makes doing this a whole lot easier. Also, it can help you dig a hole straight down, which is something that without it, it's just absolutely impossible to do. So I've got the alignment mod in, so I can actually just do that, and it just makes a hole straight down, and you don't even have to like adjust your angle to look at it. It just makes a hole straight down, vertical hole, which for disposal of dynamite works perfect. Next launch. Being able to get rid of the dynamite this way just saves us resources, because I was constantly having to build these pallets to put the dynamite on, and that just uses resources. It takes time, it clogs the system because you get so much dynamite, you just don't need it. I wish I could do something useful with it, like shred it and get materials, but you know what? That's okay, we're getting plenty of materials with the shredders. Investing in a large shredder And I had this medium shredder, but I kept it. Now, I'll tell you that if you start to do this early on in the game, if you start to set up a base like this early on in the game, one of the sticking points is power. You're going to find yourself limited by power because you want to get the science up and running. And one solution I did find with that, here's an interesting little setup. Let's go ahead and grab one solution that works pretty good as a temporary power source while you're trying to get your base set up is this, is you go around and you collect organic material. You just fill your backpack with organic material. You set one of these on a large platform, on a large B platform like this, alongside of a smelting furnace. Then what you can do is you just start dumping your organics onto the smelter, and then it's obviously creating carbon. Now this medium generator runs off of carbon. It produces 9 units per second, and you can find them underground. Just dig around underground and you're gonna find pallets with some of these still operational. Some are destroyed, but some are operational. And that makes a good early game power configuration to kind of just get things kick-started. The only thing is, take your leveling tool every so often, go out, collect a whole bunch of carbon, or a bunch of organics, bring it back, and before this runs out, put more carbon here, or put more organics. And that way that powers itself and it keeps everything else powered, so your science labs don't run really stinking slow. Because that will happen. You want to get science going early. You want to get auto science going early, but you're going to end up running really, really slow if you don't keep these fed. So, something to keep in mind. It's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt you. It's just going to slow things up, that's all. So if you forget to go out and collect organics, you're not going to break anything. It's going to keep things moving at a slow pace. So once these pallets fill up with chips, we'll put them onto the truck and we'll bring them to the safe storage area. Since we don't have to store dynamite anymore, we can store the exo chips a little closer and then just leave our current stash of dynamite where it's at. You can see that was hydrazine, and I think we got a couple of hydrazine jetpacks out of it too, so we're getting plenty of scrap from that. And that's 28 out of 32, so we can take 2 more shipments of lithium in there. Lithium's a pain in the ass to go get, so it's kind of nice if we can trade for it. Which, if we look at our mission log, I think that actually is one of our missions. Right here, unearthed, or eyes on lithium, right here, gather lithium. So we have to go to Visanya or Novus to actually get some to complete that mission, which we will. But right now, I've just been so busy kind of perfecting this auto unloading system, which seems to be going well right now. And obviously the only input I need to give for the time being is just to make sure the dynamite goes down the hole. Okay, dynamite dealt with. Let's take a look at our seed stash. Seems to be good. I can't tell that it's getting much thinner, but it's, you know, keep an eye on your plants to make sure that you always have plenty of seeds. See, like this, they bounce up here and they might despawn, so I throw them back into the farm area. What do we got? More nanocarbon alloy, more science. And then if we get those science, if we get these science samples, I mean, look at that, 300 bytes per minute. But look, that rate slowly goes up as we get toward the end of that science. So 1,500 bytes total, almost 1,600. Pretty nice. And if we get those alone can pay for the 500 bits that we lose when we send a shipment of stuff to XO. Now, at first I thought every time we launch a rocket, even if it's to collect our rewards, we lose 500 bits, but that's not the case. I'm sitting here watching down at the bottom of the screen for the notification that says 500 bits have been taken, but it's not showing up. So to collect rewards, to launch the rocket to collect rewards doesn't cost you any bytes. But if you turn in any of these materials, you lose your 500. I was thinking every time you launch a rocket, it's going to cost you 500 bytes, but it only costs you if you're sending something to be traded. And I don't think using this trade platform costs you anything. Now, I did collect up 4 pallets worth of packagers, because that should... I used a lot of packagers for the move, to move everything here, but as it turned out, I don't use them for much of anything else, so 4 pallets should do me for now. So I'll keep a constant supply of 4 pallets worth of packagers. If I need more, I'll remove the shredders. Okay, let's talk about that. If I need more packagers, then I'll just pull these shredders off, and I'll put empty storage pallets there to kind of collect them up. Now, obviously, if you want to go do the missions, you can. If you want to go out and explore like conventional Astroneer games do, like you are supposed to do, you can just walk away from this. It might not be in operation when you get back, because obviously you can't launch the rocket and everything, but you can walk away from it. I just am choosing not to. I'm using this opportunity to just perfect the process. I do wish I could automate the drop there. If anyone knows a way of doing that, let me know. Put it in the comments. If anybody has any ideas, criticisms, put it in the comments. I read them. I'm eager to hear other people's thoughts. I'm just very happy with having figured out what to do with the dynamite now. This is great. This just makes my job a lot easier. Okay, so it looks like we've got a full pallet here. We'll take this, put it up there. Now, I'll tell you something about this loading system that I found, is that it will not... This arm is so close to this pallet that it will not load these 4 closest slots. So what I'll do is I will let it fill up the pallet till it's like this. These will never get full, so then I'll just take the pallet, rotate it around, and then we'll fill these up. So, something to keep in mind. Okay, we might be hurting in the seed department. The first clue I get that the seeds are starting to run low is when this pallet gets empty, because that means these 2 arms aren't able to keep up, because these seeds haven't harvested yet. Okay, that means they're all on the same grow cycle, and there's a part where there's no seeds being formed. Alright, this goes on the rocket. Just stuff like that. That is why you don't put the hole directly underneath the launch pad, because you'll no doubt drop something that you want to keep. So let me see where we're at. Okay, so we have crested the 900,000 point mark. That's pretty cool. So in this whole event, we've garnered 900,000 points, lots of materials, so that is very cool. So you know what? This is a good place to call this episode done. Next time, I'm not sure. I'll take your ideas, but one idea that I would like to get from you guys is, what do you think about the idea of starting an online game again, but with all of this knowledge and with these resources? What do you think about that idea? About we just start again fresh and start building using the automatic science, using the exo farm, all of this stuff, but with a focus toward getting this operation up and running, getting these resources, and just starting off at a good advantage. I mean, let's take a look at 42 days. We have 7 weeks left in this event, so I say we use it. I say we take advantage of it. All right, yes, drop the bomb. Launch the rocket. Boom, boom. Okay, so what do y'all think about that? Start a new game and take all of this into account right from day one. I think that'd be kind of cool. That's why I did this to begin with. I wanted to see how it would go and save for my own buffoonery. It would have worked really well. I just didn't know what to do with the dynamite. What I could do is go load up this truck with a bunch of it. I could carry a whole bunch of dynamite and just drop whole pallets down in there and see what it does. That would be fun. So there's a thought. But anyway, let me know. Let me know in the comments below what you think. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Ciao.